The claim that science has disproven the Bible is usually taken from the God of the gaps fallacy, that the more we discover about science, it closes the gaps in our knowledge that were replaced by God in the ancient world. However, this claim has some problems because while it would mean a lot to Christianity as a whole, if there was in fact this mentality that Christians only use God as a means of covering knowledge, on the other hand, if God is the most reasonable explanation for such knowledge, that's another issue. When people say that the only reason God exists is because we don't know something, and if we do learn about it, then it removes the need for God. That would mean something for Christianity. But if, on the other hand, God is a reasonable answer and the only possible answer to things like the origin of the universe, objective grounding for morality, and so on and so forth, then we need to address some problems in this claim. Science has disproven the Bible. Well, understand, as was quoted by the individual and very vocal apologist Frank Turek, science doesn't say anything. Scientists do. And as the doctor of math, John Lennox, is quoted as saying, and I'll do his accent, nonsense from the mouths of geniuses is still nonsense. There's a difference between ontology, which is the study of how things are, and epistemology, where things came from. Science observes, tests, and repeats modern phenomena to discover and prove ontology, saying that because things work in a certain way, the same way it always has, or how it worked with everything first, and how that came into being, are very shaky assumptions that have nothing to do with science. Let me say that again slowly so that you follow my point. There's a difference between ontology, how things are, and epistemology, where things came from. Science observes, tests, and repeats modern phenomena to prove ontology, saying that because things work in a certain way today is the same they always have, or how it worked with everything first, and when they came into being, are shaky assumptions and have nothing to do with science. The point being is that science doesn't discover origins, science observes the present. To assume that the present is how things always were is a false assumption. That is a historical claim. So, here are the facts on the table. Not a single scientific claim discredits a properly understood biblical text. You can note and see our contradictions. Now note, if you were to say, oh, well, what about the age of the earth? Once again, those principles and dating methods are based on assumptions made by the scientists, not necessarily the science itself. Also, having a college degree doesn't make you incapable of being wrong. We apply this both to ourselves and to our opponents, not exclusively one to the other. We would like the standards to be consistent. Now, if Jesus, understand, and this is where the real kicker is, claimed to be the God that created the universe, the source of epistemology, and rose from the dead in a moment of history in order to prove it, I'm willing to trust his word on how it happened. If you have other questions, you can go through the following books. I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist by Norman Geisler and Frank Turek, as well as Jesus Among Other Gods by Ravi Zacharias. But for Christians who are concerned about this God of the gap fallacy, remember the following passages that address these very issues. 1 Corinthians 1:18 through 23 and 1 Corinthians 15:14 through 19 emphasize that if the resurrection's true, then every single objection towards Christianity will fall against that historical bulwark. But if, on the other hand, they're going to insist that only reason God exists is because we don't know something, this is in fact a statement made not knowing all of the facts. So make sure that when you make objections to Christianity, you are informed, but also when you respond to them. This is how we would address the issue of the God of the Gaps fallacy. It is, of course, a fallacy to assume that scientists are infallible, to equate science with the words and beliefs and assumptions and biases of a scientist. And if there's any authority worth taking, it's not on someone who has a college degree. It's on someone who can historically claim they died and came back to prove they were God. Not a observer of ontology, but the source of our epistemology, which is what this claim is ultimately trying to address. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions or want clarification further on these issues, let me know. I look forward to seeing you all next time, and God bless you.